Today, we are super, super excited to welcome Teesee Murray, who is the group president of Turtle and CEO of TurtleX, to explore big idea number 3 for regenerative supply chains. Welcome, Teesee.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you both, Sheri and James. I love this series, so thank you for having me be a part of it.
I don't know if people have heard of Turtle. Turtle is an amazing 100+ year company, 4th generation family owned, and what resonated with me, female led in a predominantly male industry. And if anyone is listening, you know how it feels, supply chain girls.
Oh, it's so true.
There's no room for tech bros here.
No tech bros.
Hey, it's the tech community, right? It's the bros and gals and everybody. It's that inclusion. I've been a few decades in supply chain now. And one of the beautiful things that brought me to Turtle was with its 102 years of experience, Turtle's earned the trusted partner position across every major industrial evolution, from electrification through to automation, now to digital transformation. And this is where the Turtle Tomorrow Labs, one of the most recent things that we've unveiled, is really helping us drive the change that we know is needed in these very unprecedented times. And now coming to the forefront of really being able to drive resilience in this supply chain.
I love all of the points that you've made, Teesee. When we think about how do you not only survive and thrive as an enterprise, but navigate a lot of disruption, geopolitical disruption. You mentioned several iterations of industrial revolutions that Turtle has navigated. Now AI and sustainability, and moving even beyond sustainability into a regenerative future. Given your background, AI and automation, how do you see infusing AI in enterprise-wide transformation, and not just creating sustainability benefits, which we know are typically lean and green, but other benefits that present long-term value creation for customers?
That's a great question. And I really see my role is turning transformation into trust. And that trust leads to lasting impact. But to actually make that happen, you have to bring it down to the human level. How are we going to inspire the people to embrace the change that's needed to help us be competitive, to better serve our customers, and to outpace the market? And I think that's where diversity of thought and inclusion of that cross-functional thinking across the enterprise is the difference. It's not just, oh, this is a tech problem. Oh, that's a data problem. Oh, that's a sales problem. No, it's an all of us problem. And so I think it starts with inspiring the heart, setting a bold vision, and it really includes augmenting an individual's skill set. It's helping build the resilience and the appetite for that change within them. Because most people start off either resistant or scared or, hey, I know my job, I like my job, do I want to do this? And so you really need to encourage that. And I find that when we start at the individual level, explaining how it will benefit them, it will benefit their team, it'll benefit the company, and ultimately the customers we serve, that's how we get that lasting change that creates enthusiasm and the extra effort needed to get over the goal line on these difficult big projects.
TC, can I, not to dive straight in off the bat, but can I tug on that? Can I tug on that a little bit? Because what you've just described there is very much what I would describe as a kind of systemic approach.
Yes.
You know, up here we have the big vision, opportunity at the enterprise level that we take into the boardrooms, we take into the commercial conversations. But actually, that's nothing without the translation into the guys and girls on the shop floor, your middle management, the entire ecosystem. And you hear brands and organizations talk about it, but it doesn't really translate. Yeah. So I'd love to tease on that a little bit and try and understand what are some of the specific things from a Turtle perspective are important in that. I mean, Sheri and I have spoken many times about this idea of using $3 words rather than $25 words, like meeting people where they are. So how do we go through and bring people with us when you bring new technologies like you do at Turtle into organizations?
Sure. Well, I'm a geek. So I love learning new things. I'm a lifelong student. So this is where I want to be out on the front edge, learning it for myself, trying to put it into practice before bringing it to others. And we have to take that systems level approach, right? How will the enterprise change? It can't just be good for me. It can't just be good for one team. It has to be good for all of us, or else it will falter. And this is where it actually is of benefit to have some history and a long career where you can see the challenges. So if I just jump back to the fourth industrial revolution, where we were going to the cloud and moving everything to the cloud, that was a massive disruption. I was one of the first teams to move to AWS and to move workloads there. And people at the time, our customers and our internal employees, were saying, oh, this is scary. This is going to take my job. It's bad. I don't want it. And within a year's time, we were able to reverse that to say, actually, this can be more secure. This is career enhancing because the future is going in this direction. So if we expand your skill set and your capabilities now, it's going to be better for you, and your job won't be taken. It's going to be accelerated. It's going to be enhanced. And the same thing is happening now. So there's a lot of discussion about AI and its downfalls. One of the biggest risks is ignoring it.
I know that this is a tough spot, particularly with what's happening in the world right now. When we talked about carbon tariff, and we're not going to get political. We're not. But it's interesting, though, because of Turtle's 102-year history, the founders and family has seen waves of political influences turn the tide, so to speak. And right now, there's a bit of a backlash globally. We've seen a lot of corporates step away, specifically in the capital and financial markets, around ESG. And there are a lot of mechanisms now where I think people can potentially enter that market with a newfound trust. But stepping back a bit, we are navigating a new change right now politically when we think about the word sustainability. From where I sit in professional services, sustainability services and transformation is still happening. I think what we're calling it might be slightly different. So decarbonization, supply chain reengineering, circular manufacturing, regenerative sourcing, like the word is sort of being skated around. And the reason that I mention this, and I'd really love to hear your insight, is at the process level, when we think about the value created by doing things differently, even if we put that regenerative hat on, leaning green always rings true, specifically in manufacturing and in industrial. And so in your point of view right now, the first question is, are you seeing people step away from some of those sustainability initiatives? And then if they aren't, what's really the catch point? How are you actually walking the talk through the lens of technology? That was a big question.
I agree with some of the statements that you made, that there still is the goal to hit some of these metrics of net zero by X date. And so globally, while the words might be different in Europe and Asia and the United States, there's a commonality of enterprises still want to hit those goals because the customers they serve want it. In the marketplace, we are seeing that need because these very big public brands are on record, and they're in a conundrum right now because we are electrical and industrial supply. So we serve utilities, we serve state and federal. That power need is growing, and it's growing primarily because of the data centers for AI and advanced technology. Those hyperscalers have a growing carbon footprint, but publicly they have goals they want to meet. We want to help them meet that. And they are coming and having conversations about how can we do this. These vast ecosystems of partnerships are required because no one has all the expertise.
I know you want to jump in, James, because she said data centers.
No, I was thinking,
Go ahead.
you know, I don't want to bring us back to the beginning of the conversation about the sort of cultural bit, but I think it's also worth double clicking on it again, just because the bit for me, TC, a little bit as well is, certainly this side of the Atlantic, those that are in the know see the opportunity, they see how this will make things efficient, they'll see how we'll get there quicker, but there's still I I don't want to use the term Luddite, but there's still
Sure.
the natural resistance to some of these sort of technologies and the fear that comes from, embracing it or embracing it too quickly. So you can see the fear. Presumably, when we think about the big, meaty, wicked problem of climate and sustainability, AI helps you just get there quicker. And I heard something really interesting today around the application of AI in medical processes for spotting certain types of illness. And one of the professors there was saying this is not about replacing professionals, the people in the process. It's about aiding the decision infrastructure and the decision architecture to get there.
So data centers, you mentioned this, and it's the big problem of our time as well as the big opportunity. They use a lot of water. They use a lot of power. Well, say in the United States all the time, where's the juice? We don't have enough juice in the grid. We've underinvested. I'm in California, and sometimes our power gets turned off in the middle of the day, and I'm just south of Silicon Valley on the coast, very populated area. It's a surprising thing. So what Turtle has been doing is we've been working with companies to provide microgrids, which a microgrid is almost like a utility island, where if the grid goes down, you can still run. And this is helping to drive a marketplace for new sustainable solutions as well as the old and the dirty. So you still might need a diesel backup generator, but the new batteries, the new technologies can be very powerful in peak shaving so that at the time when most energy is needed, you actually go to your battery for that resilience. That's driving a new marketplace that hasn't existed. And so as we look at new energy types, there is a lot of innovation going on. And the market for the data centers is driving this innovation of how do we get more energy from other solutions than just the typical. And it comes with a price tag that is helping fund it, not just with government subsidies, which is what we've done in the past. So it's a true market solution. I've never seen so much innovation, and we're seeing new companies pop up with focus on graphene. Graphene, both conductive and inductive, makes everything operate better. It reduces the loss. It's great for manufacturers. It's great for energy transmission. So using new solutions to our old problems is how we'll get everyone over the divide. And, there's that whole adoption curve. We're going to get there, right? We're on the journey. And as soon as we get to what's near completion for this phase, we're going to be on to the 6th industrial revolution, picking ourselves up to transform once again. It's all about the resiliency of the mindset.
And the access to capital too, I think, and the access to the technology and the knowledge that you need to actually use it in a meaningful and innovative way. Because even in what you both have just described, when we think about what a truly regenerative future looks like, it is a future where if we're not careful, a lot of folks are going to be climate and operational migrants, and that they won't have access to food security. They won't have access to clean air and clean water. They won't have access to earn a wage to provide basic needs for their family. And so a lot of those smallholders and farmers that exist in the global South, and we'll just run with your example, James, around, the accessibility in your scope 3 supply base, reaching back to tier 3. How do we give them that cool access to in-process compute and digital twinning and manufacturing that Teesee has talked about? How do we give them access to cloud-based solutions? There's a finance element, right? You have to finance that change. And maybe in what you're describing, Teesee, can actually create a way where the big brands, the F500, F1000 brands, can help finance that change and that gap. What are your thoughts around maybe that is the 6th industrial revolution?
Digital twinning of assets is a key part of how we do scope 3. I don't know if your whole audience knows about scope 1, 2, and 3. That's all of the...
They're very smart.
Okay, fantastic. Sometimes when I talk about it, people go, whoosh, what? What's a scope
They
3?
got it.
So scope 3, I think the superpower of Triangle is scope 3 reporting, because they do the digital twin of assets with IoT or with could be Google imaging mapping for, you're talking about agriculture. And what's nice is when we do embed the total cost of what's happening, there are opportunities. There are new financial opportunities to fund this energy transition. And we do have to think inclusively, right? How do we take care of everybody. One that we've spent a lot of time with is atmospheric water generation. Mentioned water scarcity. Manufacturing takes a lot of water. Distribution, water is vital. But atmospheric water generation, just in simple terms, water from air, when coupled with a renewable energy source like solar, could be part of that answer. And based on my research and what we're doing, I believe that is part of the future. And there are a few entities that can actually help manufacture water from air or atmospheric water generation at scale, at utility grade, talking about thousands of gallons a day. And there are some amazing philanthropists who are saying, in water scarce regions, I want to be part of that solution. And so we're hearing conversations that in my career I've never heard before, and I find it very heartening and inspiring. And so I think the human aspect of how we plan for this change to not only serve our customers, but to serve our communities is very important.
I love hearing you talk, TC. I'm going to frame this in the right way. It feels like the kind of 102-year history of Turtle has served you all very, very well in the way you think about the depth of the problem. Because I think you hear a lot of brands, a lot of organizations get to that level of thinking, but don't really follow it all the way through. And I guess the challenge is always down to, consumers a bit reductive, but it's kind of the end community where these things show up, where the infrastructure is based, where the impact is greatest. I've got two sort of questions for you, and one of them is coming back to something Sheri mentioned before. In some of your conversations, when you start going into these large organizations, thinking about enterprise level, is there ever a danger of kind of, you hear folks talk about sort of fear of finding out, that the level of data fidelity is so great that they don't want to know how big the problem is, because once they know how big it is, they have to do something about it.
Creates a liability that they have to
creates
disclose.
A liability, exactly. It's on the docket. And the second one, which is slightly unrelated in reality, but in my head it feels linked. It's kind of, what's the big bet for 26? We think about where we are in the kind of decade of impact, the decade of change, and we're over halfway. What does the next 5 years of the Turtle 102 years so far look like? Where are you going next? What's the next big nut to crack?
Love that. I am a bold visionary thinker. We're landing some very big transformation projects where we'll have our forever modern platform. So I believe we're at the data evolution because it's the fuel for what's next. I think the building of ecosystems and partnerships is that next frontier. And so we're building our technology services teams because we believe it's the products plus the technology delivered as a solution with the industry expertise, with the community dedication that will be that big next frontier. And I think one of the things that you were saying harkens back to something that I'd heard from one of the leaders in the EU, the World Economic Forum. And he was saying it's not until both climate and finance speak the same language that we will get the transformation that we want on sustainability. And I believe that's true. I do think that there is authentic interest in doing better. I grew up out here in coastal California in the Wild West, and I'm a big believer in face the problem, find the solution. We can do it. I grew up, Santa Barbara, just down the coast from Silicon Valley, and these modern maverick cowboys I love because they take on a challenge and just say, game on, let's find the solution. We can do this. And I am a realistic optimist. I know that if I use Gen AI, I'm increasing the load on the grid. So I have to really be conscious about what I'm asking it and when I'm asking it. I think, as an individual rolling up to a much bigger imprint, we have to think of these solutions and how are we going to solve it. So one of the things that I would encourage your listeners to do is to tell everyone about your podcast and other podcasts, because I think these are the meaningful conversations and educations that are going to help all of us get better. And more so than, some of the images and the influencers, I think this is the substance where the more people that get behind it and understand it, the more change we will see.
Wonderful. So, Teesee, I want to thank you so much for joining today and sharing your insights on AI and exponential tech, the human elements of transformation. And certainly, I think that the work that you've described in the future of manufacturing, it isn't just about making things better, as you just alluded to. It's about making the world better through how we make things, how we connect, and how we share with others. So thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you.
Well, it's wonderful talking with both of you. All the best. And thank you for sharing and educating all of us. I appreciate you.
James, any final words? Not to leave
No,
you out.
I think you summed it up, right? Just thank you, Teesee. It's tough, I think, to stay at the leading edge, as you mentioned before, from the outsider looking in, because this technology is changing so incredibly quickly, and the language adapts so incredibly quickly. And I think for very many people, it's hard to really kind of keep up and stay abreast of things. So I think your point about conversations like this, the sort of humanizing of the problem, the breaking down of the kind of topics into bite-sized and consumable bits, allows folks to just, as you said, be a lifelong learner. I'm always a massive resistor of anyone who describes themselves as an expert in sustainability. Kind of folks go, I've been in this space 20 years. I know everything there is to know. So, well, brilliant. But the world's still on fire. So what have you been doing? So I think there's something about being, trying to strip out the egos, be humble, and say, right, what are the different medium and the different conversations and the kind of anecdotes that help take people with you.
Well
so
said.
thank you.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you, Teesee. Take care.